And this is the 124th episode of Candid Conversations. And today we're going to elevate your mind. We are going to discuss some of those things that have to do with weed and weed related products. So, without further ado, from Alberta, I believe, we are going to introduce you to Keiley Beaudry from Parkland Flower. How's it
Hi,
going?
thanks for having me.
No problem. Glad you're here because it's ironic because of all the episodes that I've done, I want to say the last 3-4 months, maybe year, I've decided when and where I'm going to have a blunt. And this is the one time I don't, ironically enough. I'm here like, wow. So, oh man, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. It's a little chilly up here in Alberta. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, minus 25 today. But it's supposed to warm up by the end of the week. But yeah, so
Minus
that's
20.
Alberta. Yeah.
That is bonkers. I think we're like -6 or something like that.
Yeah, well, it's better than minus 36. We were in a major polar vortex over the Christmas and the New Year's
Yeah,
holidays. So it's a little bit better.
that must have been hell. We
It's,
had
you
the
know what? It's,
yeah.
lots of people are like, oh my gosh, that's so cold, but the sun shines bright every day. Like it's so cold. You don't have a lot of cloud cover. So that's the one kind of saving grace when it gets that cold.
All right, all right. True, true. Yeah, no, as Canadian as I am, I was born in the summer and I'm wearing layers right now. I don't care. Nah, like one, I got my balaclava, then I got my t-shirt. And I don't know how people do it, man. I've seen people like last week. People were out there in shorts,
Oh,
still,
wow. That's awesome.
still. I'm like, okay, hockey boy, you have fun. Oh man, it's crazy. So, oh life, oh man. We met at a convention at the Scotiabank Convention Center in Niagara Falls.
Yeah, the
How?
grow
The
up
gro-
conference.
yes, yes. How did you hear about that, and what brought you all the way over here?
Well, that was the third. That was the third conference that they have put off in Niagara Falls. And I have attended all three.
Okay.
When I first heard about it back in 2018, I was really just kicking off my company and getting it started, and so I was just trying to get as much information as I possibly could about the industry, about what it took to get licensed, and just really wanted to rub elbows with industry professionals that were already in the space and that had been doing it on the medical side
Mhm.
because it was pre-legalization. And
Okay.
so, yeah, I went to that first one and went back for the next one, and then of course COVID, and this was their third one. So a lot of things changed from those first two to the one I attended this time.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, COVID's running rampant. It's like
Yes.
everything. Nothing is. It sounds like an obvious statement, but it's like there's barely any semblance of what used to be. It's like you go like when I remember like even hugs, things like hugs. You go to approach somebody now. Like if you even go in their direction, they're like, you're like, all right, cool, cool. But like, I don't know. What have you noticed is the biggest change since COVID with your business?
Well, pre-COVID, so prior to March of 2020, we were not licensed yet. We had started building out our facility in October of 2019, and we were sort of expecting that we would be licensed around February, March. And of course, then COVID hit. Our license got delayed. Health Canada sort of turned their sights on figuring out how to deal with a pandemic. And so some of their resources kind of got pulled from our side of things. And yeah, we had to muddle through those months where we were experiencing these licensing delays. And then we got licensed in August of 2020. And we just hit the ground running. And so since that time now, we've successfully launched 7 products into the Canadian market. Actually, 9 products, 7 different seed cultivars, as well as 2 pre-roll products. And we're working on a lot more and developing that. And then in June of 2020, this year, or well, I guess 2021, sorry, last year, our company was acquired. And so, a lot has happened in a very short period of time. And we're just really excited about having support and backing and building out our product inventory and bringing some new genetics to the market this year.
Awesome, awesome. Now we're talking about genetics. Let's go a little bit further into that. How long have you been experimenting with these genetics, and what is your goal with them?
Well, I have a team. There's myself, and then my original co-founder with me, Dustin. He's our master grower, and we've since grown and developed our team. We have an in-house breeder that is from Humboldt, California, that brings over 40 years of guerrilla growing, breeding, classical breeding. And so we have his expertise. My grower's been growing for about 25 years. His grow mentor had been growing for about 40 years and imparted all his knowledge. So we do have quite a base of knowledge around growing cannabis, even especially in commercial environments. And so a lot of our genetics we've been working on for years, well before legalization.
Okay, okay. The maverick of sorts, if you will. It's like, they gonna come around. Let's just do this anyways. And if they don't come around, well, we still got it for ourselves.
Well, I mean, cannabis really was legalized for medical purposes back in 2001. So it has been legalized for over 20 years now. It's just that the adult use market wasn't legalized until 2018. So my grower has been growing under the MMAR, and then that eventually changed over to the ACMPR, which is basically just growing for medical purposes, either for yourself as a medical patient or for other medical patients. You can be what's called a designated grower. And of course our breeder coming up from California in the Humboldt region, a lot of his expertise comes right from that legacy market down in Cali.
Okay, okay. All right. So, without giving away too many of your secrets, what is the key to growing a good bud?
Oh my gosh, there's so much to all of it, especially in a large commercial setting. I think the number one place where growers fall down is lack of planning, and environmental control is huge. When you're attempting to recreate basically outdoor conditions. You're growing a plant that normally grows under the sun, outdoors, usually in more of a temperate climate. I mean, we were just talking about how it's minus 25 up here.
Yeah.
Alberta's not really, the outdoor environment's not really made for cannabis production. However, we try to basically replicate the outdoors indoors. And so that involves water management, airflow, humidity controls, so many different factors, knowing how much the plants transpire their moisture. And so keeping an adequate temperature and an adequate humidity level that is consistent for the different plant cycles is really, really important, because you have one swing and now all of a sudden you end up with powdery mildew, or, you lose a crop. So there's a lot of science, and there's a lot of tinkering. There's a lot of late nights, especially when you have outdoor temperature swings, then that can also affect your facilities. So there's a lot to it.
Oh man, I remember. I thought, "Pfft, it's just a plant. I can grow this shit. I don't know what you're talking about. Bro, we just fucking." So I did the thing. I put it in the paper, and then the sprout came out. I'm like, all right, cool. So I like take that thing and I put it in the soil. I'm like, yeah, a little dirt around it. I'm like, okay, nutrients, a little bit of water. It starts to grow. I'm like, hooray! And it grows. I'm like, all right. And then it grew, and I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. I grew a 6-foot male.
Oh, and that happens. That
Yeah.
happens lots. Yep.
Yep. I was like, oh my God. And the thing is, like, I think it started female, but I had an artist over, and for some strange reason, they didn't have control over their child. So instead of telling their child not to grab the stalk of the tree and bend it sideways, little baby, they're like, oh, look. Like,
Oh no.
I came upstairs and I saw the tree like the tree was like this when I went downstairs. I came back up, it was like this. And I'm like, I saw the kid do it too. And it's like, it's a 2-year-old. So do you, how do you monitor that situation? How do you gauge that situation? It's like, one, you want to scare the shit out of the kid so they don't fuck up your plant. But 2, it's a kid. So you don't want to seem like a monster. Or at least I didn't anyways at the time. So I was just like, oh no. And then the mother was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even see her.
And there goes your plant.
I was like, I didn't know what to do. And like, it had already been like 3-4 months, 2-3 months of me growing it. I was just like, but yeah.
It's a lot of work. It's not as easy as it looks. Like
It
a lot
is.
of growers out there that really have their systems dialed in and have it figured out, like they make it look so easy. And you take a little 4-plant tent and then multiply that by 1,000 into a larger facility. And there's so many more variables to control. Labor, you have to have enough people. You're in basically a full-on agricultural and manufacturing all at the same time, because you are growing this product for a very specific use, whether it be for dry flower or for extracts. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to it.
Holy, it's interesting. So if you were interested in becoming a connoisseur of marijuana, where would you start?
Come to Canada. It's legal.
We got it. We got it right up
You
here.
got it right. You got it right here. Yeah, it's really exciting, especially, Alberta really kicked off hardcore on the retail stores. And I would say, for anybody wanting to really explore different products and seeing what they like, what works for them, what provides a better experience for them, is to go to your local retail stores. That's, you talk to your bud tenders. They are, a lot of stores have very well trained, very passionate bud tenders, that love the plant. They learn about the licensed producers that produce the plant. And they're like a really great resource. Go in, ask lots of questions. And it's really, there's so many different varieties of cannabis, like over like thousands, literally, because there's so much crossbreeding and things like that going on with the plant, and different companies and coming from different places. And even the same plant can express differently in a different grow environment. So that's also really cool. So yeah, it's just a matter of trying things. YouTube's a great resource as well if you want to learn more about like the history or how to grow, or pick up some books. But yeah, there's some really, really great talent out there. And now that it is legal here in Canada, it's becoming much more mainstream. So there's a lot more resources than there were, say, pre 2018.
I've noticed something. It's like every time they shut down a business, they open up a cannabis store.
Yeah.
It's bonkers. They shut out, like, I've seen at least, I think that we have in Welland alone, I think we have like, I want to say 6, but I feel like it's 8, maybe 12.
Yeah, everybody's starting a new business. It's very similar to owning a restaurant. You'll have so many different restaurants, and they'll cater to a specific clientele. They'll bring in very specific products. Some may be more of a value brand. They want to offer, the highest THC for the lowest price, or you may have some that want to be a little bit more on the upper scale, where they're, bringing in like, very unique, exotic, genetic grown product. So yeah, like everybody, it's so new, right? You're talking this adult use space is only 3 years old. Yeah. So, everybody's kind of throwing their hat in the ring to see if they can make a go out of it. There's from people that have been consuming cannabis for years and, have been really passionate about the plant, to people that are looking for a lifestyle change, that they're like, I've been working in mechanics or oil and gas or farming or whatever, or like whatever industry it is, or I'm gonna try to open up a retail store, and they do, or I've got a bunch of capital and I'm gonna give this business a go. And everybody also saw like the big dollar signs and the green rush, so I think that's also a part of it.
Okay, all right. So, what is I want to say, what is the best part about growing weed?
The best part about growing weed, well, I mean, there's definitely a huge sense of satisfaction. I think you have to look at it whether it's if I'm growing for personal use or if I'm growing for patients or for the consumers market. So for myself, like one of my favorite things about when we put a product on the market is getting the feedback from consumers. Back in the day, we would get our feedback from patients. So, and the other thing is that we're selling seeds, so it's a big lesson in instant gratification, because you don't get it. Like you put out a flower product, people consume it right away. They give you your feedback. Whereas you put out seeds on the market, that person takes them home, they germinate it, they grow it out, you
Germinate, that's the word.
follow their journey, and then it's like a 4-month process before they actually get to smoke it and try it. And so that's one of my favorite things. If you check out our Instagram, Parkland Flower, Parkland_flower, that's where you can, it's not even, there's some pictures of our facility, but we mainly share all the photos and the journeys of our home growers that support and purchase our genetics. And that's one of my favorite things about growing.
Nice. Yeah, it's a sense of fulfillment to get. Like, I like seeing people accomplish their goals,
Yeah,
kind of thing, and to help them. I mean, that's my life's work. I do human rights advocacy, so. But it's just interesting to see someone gain the gratification of completing a task with their own energies.
absolutely. It's just like growing your own food.
Yep.
Growing your own food is satisfying. It's fun. Like you share a meal, and like your first time you might get like a couple of tomatoes, or you did, but you learn and you grow and you get better. Like for example, today, and this actually happened today. I just got a phone call out of the blue, and it was a customer, and she was a mature, probably in her late 50s. And she was just like, this is my first time growing cannabis. I have your seeds. This is where I'm at. The plants they're starting to look like they're kind of ready, but I'm not sure. And, so I was just giving her a few tips on, what to look for to see that it's finished off. And then she's like, My kids think this is so cool. She's like, I've never grown cannabis before. And my kids asked me what I was planning to do. And I'm like, I'm going to grow weed.
Ah, nice.
Maybe you have someone that's never grown it before and and they obviously have kids, that are sort of older and like,
Yeah,
that they probably now purchase their weed at a dispensary or a retail store.
likely.
So like it's just really neat to see that. We do actually get a lot of seniors that grow. Like
Really?
it's one of the fastest growing markets in Canada are seniors, because they're they're looking for alternatives to pain treatment, things to help them sleep, things to help increase their appetite.
Hmm.
And a lot of seniors are like avid gardeners. So they purchase our seeds and then, they want to see if they can grow cannabis the same way that they grow, their prize flower garden, So I
Hmm.
think it's just really cool. It normalizes it. It makes it more mainstream. I think that's the really
Yes.
key thing about growing your own.
Okay. Man, this is, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot about this. I realize that's why I leave it to the professionals. Uh,
Hey, we
I'm
all
sitting,
started somewhere.
yeah,
My grower did not grow like just like trips and quads like his very first grow, and it's a process. You learn what worked and what didn't work.
I just, I just wish I was more patient. That's
Yeah.
all. I like gratification. I blame Amazon and people like that because like I make the call, I wait a little bit, and then it arrives. I remember having a garden at we had a garden at our house when we lived in Ajax, and my dad grew a whole garden of we call it callaloo, but it's basically spinach. And when I saw how many people were able to eat off of that one one harvest, it was like, okay, I want to do more like this. But now with like the weed industry or the marijuana industry the way it is, it's like I'm trying to tell my dad, like, yo, if we have some acres, you need to grow some weed.
Yeah.
Like, you just, I mean, I know I shouldn't tell you what to do because you're my father and stuff, but we need to grow some weed.
Yeah.
There's just too many people that want it. It's like, well, if we talk to the right people, we can. So yeah, yeah, it's like I thought it was like a little number. Like, I thought it was just a couple. No, he's working with a couple dozen. So yeah, I'm just like looking. How does one cultivate their land to make it like okay? I remember I was talking a while back, and you said there are some places that will only take the indoor grown, and there's some places where you have to grow a specific way if you're growing it outside. If I
Uh,
remember correctly.
so, for example, like
Yeah.
Israel, when they have cannabis imported to them, they have very very strict requirements on if it is grown indoor, it has to
Hmm.
be grown hydroponically or it has to be grown in an inert medium, meaning something that's like cocoa. So there cannot be any microbials whatsoever. And so that's interesting. And being the only like G1 country, like G7 country that has it legalized right now, there's just other countries now that are just catching up and have their own rules and regulations. I mean, I think ultimately, sun grown is where the market will eventually go. There will still be indoor, but there will be, you know, the Colombias, the Costa Ricas, the Jamaicas,
Mm.
where this plant has grown before, the Afghanistans, like these are the places where a lot of these cultivars came, some of them came from and originated, places out in India, all across the world, that sort of are around that equator where you have naturally 12 hours of darkness and 12 hours of light. That's what the cannabis plant requires for a flowering cycle. So like a photo period in that sense. And
Okay.
so, yeah, like it's, yeah, there's going to be so many different changes and it's going to evolve. It's, it's crazy where it's come from. How are you?
How's it going? It's been a while.
Good. Good to
Yes.
see you.
Yeah. Can you hear me all right? I just put the mic on.
Sure can.
Oh, cool. I heard cannabis talk coming out of the basement. I had to come down.
Yep. You know how we do.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, the one time I don't have a blunt.
That's okay.
It's all good.
Weeds on the way.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. All right. So, ask away.
Ask away.
Yeah.
Oh, questions.
Yes.
Oh, question time. So on the outdoor grow, no. So have you been a part of any of the ones in Canada yet? Have you seen any of what's going on up here? Like I've seen some of the fences going up and some of the stuff going on, but I haven't seen much of the actual what's going on logistic wise and things like that. Is it?
There are quite a few outdoor grows here. Whether they have been successful is still yet to be seen. There's not as big of an appetite for outdoor grown, mainly due to numbers. It's you can grow over 20% THC outdoor, but you have to have that dialed in. You have to have like the climate has to be absolutely perfect. I mean, you get climate in BC and some of southern Ontario that you can grow that primo outdoor cannabis. We haven't quite seen it yet, to be honest. I think the other thing is there seems to be this stigma that indoor grown is better. Like it's, higher potency. I'm not sure where it comes from, but yeah, like, I mean,
That's probably from the
we are a fully indoor facility, but that's because we are in Alberta. We don't have the right climate here. But so in order for us to do this, we have to be indoor. The advantage of being indoor versus outdoor is that I can do 4 to 6 cycles a year. Whereas outdoor, you can do 1, maybe 2, depending on your where you're sort of positioned. Like if you're further south, you might be able to bang out 2 in a year. So that is the advantage of that, is being able to do more cycles. Outdoor, you're going to grow big monster plants. They tend to be a lot harder to harvest. You've got big plants, so you have to have a lot more labor to cut all of them down.
I've been seeing some interesting ways people want to tackle that problem too.
We do have a comment here.
Go ahead.
All right. So what do you think about this? GZDR4F, I mean, great name. You can take a multivitamin or a multi-mineral pill to get your daily recommended nutrients. Are there strands of cannabis that are infused with vitamins and minerals that you can smoke?
Oh, interesting question.
Okay, that's an interesting question. Now we're going to get into a little bit of physiology of the cannabis plant and the human body. So everybody has what's called an endocannabinoid system. And so basically it's a set of receptors that are all throughout the body that bind to cannabinoids, which is what the cannabis plant produces. Yes, there are vitamins and minerals in the cannabis plant, in the plant material. You would have to eat it in order for your body to absorb it. You would not absorb vitamins and minerals through your lungs, like through inhalation or vaporization or combustion methodologies. You could get it if you juiced the plant, if you ate the raw cannabis plant, but oftentimes edibles are made by extraction methods where we actually extract just the cannabinoids away from the plant material. So you would just have pure THC, CBD, CBG, THCV. Like these are all different cannabinoids. There's up to 150. There may be more that they're still trying to discover, but there are about 150 different cannabinoids in the cannabis plant, THC and CBD being the two main ones that we hear about most, because they tend to be mostly the most abundant in cannabis. So yeah, so that's just kind of the differentiation. There are theories, yet some of it's being studied currently. Some of it has been studied. There's not a ton that's been proven yet, but there are theories that your endocannabinoid system is a part of your homeostasis in your body. And so when it is out of whack, things like your immune system, your digestion, and things like that can be affected. And so there's hope that cannabis therapies can help improve that homeostasis and help bring the body back into balance. I mean, we've seen it also with the nervous system, PTSD patients, cancer patients. Like, it's used for a multitude of different ailments, and it helps some and it doesn't help others. So, the jury's still out. There's still a lot more research that needs to be done. There is a lot of research, and there's a ton of anecdotal evidence that the cannabis plant helps with a lot of these things. But yeah, so I hope that answered your question. I probably went off into a big long tangent
That's
on it.
actually really interesting, though, because
I was gonna say I really appreciate the vocabulary, because there's this stigma associated with people who smoke weed, that people think that we don't have the capacity to express ourselves with multisyllabic structure. so yeah, good on you. Go ahead.
Well, so on the same note, though, so from what I was reading, the hemp seeds themselves are also considered a superfood. So a lot of the omega acids and things like you would need for your brain can be found in there. So so different parts of the plant at different stages could provide different things as well, from what I'm reading.
Absolutely.
I remember you sent me a link the other day in the chat, and it was a comment, I think, about, and I'm going to say this, and I might not say it the right way. So if you're listening to this on Liquid Fire Radio, shout out to Christy Hales, or if you're listening to this on YouTube, I might be wrong, but I'm just saying it how I remember it. So I'm prefacing this so you don't at me, because I'm that guy.
Do some research and correct me if it's wrong.
Exactly. If I'm wrong, correct me respectfully with information that is accurate and valid. That being said, I've heard through the wind that there is a belief that cannabis can help stave off some of the effects of, well, not stave off the effects of COVID, but can help combat
that one,
the reception of COVID.
Yeah, it prevents the binding to the cells in the lungs and things like that.
Yeah.
That wasn't peer reviewed yet, just so you know.
It's not a peer reviewed study, and it is also a study that was done in a dish on cells.
Yes.
So it has not been proven out in humans yet.
They're working on it, but
so they're working on it. There's lots of studies. There's studies about mushrooms, like different mushroom compounds, and COVID happening right now as well. Because
I saw an antigen in tobacco also had one too.
Yeah. So I mean, there's again, until it's a peer-reviewed, double-blind study, with a large case study, like a large number of people, I would say go get vaccinated.
So I believe
I am definitely.
On that note, though, there is I believe I was reading also about a plant-based vaccine coming out of Quebec, which was not as effective as the mRNA ones, but was pretty close. They found a spike protein in a plant that they're able to extract.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I think it was like an 80% or something like that, not like the 89s or whatever that they're hoping for. So it's approved for use, I think. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, you got to think about like all the medical medicines and compounds that modern medicine that we have today. Okay, a lot of those came from plants. And now what we have done is we have figured out a way to synthesize them and be able to produce them at mass scale for the population that we have. And also produce it to have repeatable effects, so that you'll have the same effect. If you take a Tylenol, it's going to work the same way as it did the last time you took a Tylenol, kind of thing. So that's the difficult thing with cannabis right now is that it has so many different compounds in the
Oh
plant
yeah.
that work together. That's why it helps different ailments. But the way the scientific community and doctors, they want something that says, well, it works like this
Hmm.
with this amount. And we're not,
Hmm.
science is not there yet.
No, definitely not. It from what I've seen though, it could simply be that the plant, just as a de-stressor, could be what's
Absolutely.
allowing a lot of this stuff to come back. Because there's the whole placebo effect thing, but a lot of that can be attributed to just additional stress and having that relieved.
Yeah.
Because that's what they try to do for you in a hospital, right? They try to keep you as calm and as possible,
I
keep
got my
everything taken
prescription
care
from
of.
Nate Dogg. He said, smoke weed every day.
Right, right. Laughter's the best medicine, that kind of thing. It could simply be something as
It
simple as that. It's
is.
allowing
I
people to
think
de-stress and
it's
actually heal themselves.
it's us also another tool for harm reduction.
Yeah.
We are facing a massive opioid crisis.
Oh,
Over the holidays, I have two friends that lost sons
Sorry
to
to
the
hear that.
opioid crisis, and my grower lost his daughter. She was 25 to the opioid crisis, and so that's something that's very near and dear to our heart. It can help combat alcoholism. There are it can be used therapeutically in so many different ways to help people come off of these drugs, to help people come
hmm.
off of alcohol in a harm reduction way. Because a lot of you go into rehabs or things like that, it's all about abstinence and cutting off the supply. And sometimes folks are going through addiction. Doesn't just come, it's not something that just happens, it comes from trauma. And so like cannabis can be a tool that's used to help take that edge off, to help reduce those stressors and literally physical pain that comes from withdrawals and coming off of
Hmm.
opioids.
I've been to the
Oh
point where
yeah.
people have told me they prefer me when I smoke. So I'm
I'm a
like, no,
better
man,
person.
yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna quit. No, forget this noise. I want a week, and then just like, are you okay? What do you want? I mean, yes. It was crazy.
Oh yeah.
It was bonkers. So, yeah, I find the benefits to exist with it, because this is just me.
I think
But
the
we are.
biggest one, like for folks like my age, I'm in sort of in my midlife kind of arena, and I sleep is a big thing. Like I have
Mm,
a hard time sleeping, and I'm a mom, and so I've got my eldest is 10 years old, and so like I've gone through years of no sleep just from having kids, and then that messes up your whole rhythm. Like it really
Mhm,
does.
mhm.
Um, you know, uh, I find, consuming before bed like changes my whole outlook because I get a full night's sleep. I mean,
Yep.
I got my mom on this stuff. Like I got my grandmother. Like,
Ah,
working
like
on it.
I
push
did.
up.
I've been making her gummies and like sending them to her because she's got so much pain. She's in her 80s,
Oh,
and you can only take so many drugs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Before it starts becoming an issue, and our aging population needs better tools to deal with aging, and I think cannabis can be a part of that
Mhm.
Oh,
toolkit.
the first cannabis store in the Niagara Falls there opened up, and it was right beside an orthopedics clinic.
Yep. They know how to get. They know their
I
target
went
market.
there the first day it opened up, and I saw a group of 60 to 70-year-olds walk out of the orthopedics clinic and walk right into the weed store.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't doubt it.
pre-legalization, I used to do cannabis education, and a lot of times when I would put off events like that, I mean, I did one where the youngest person in the room was 65.
Mm.
And it was I've done cannabis education at seniors complexes, and it was funny when I did the one event, the recreational director was like, this is so we do like events like this every month. And she's like, everyone came to yours. She's like, you had the highest attendance of any
Uh,
thing that we've
That's
done. And they
that's
have
amazing.
great.
so many questions. Like they are
No.
genuinely, they genuinely want to understand how it can help, how to consume it. Like that's a big thing. A lot of people don't want to smoke it. They're like,
People
what
that
are my other options?
Yeah. People that age were just that information was hidden from them. So of course they're gonna seek it. That makes
Yeah.
perfect sense that they're totally jumping in
Yeah,
on
it
that
does.
boat.
And some of them were in that era too, where the hippie, the 60s era, 50s and 60s era where it was all free love and all that kind of stuff. Some of them are like, well, now it's legal. Now I can go back to what I was doing back then.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the
Yep,
other thing.
that's the thing.
Or a lot of those.
But we are over the halfway mark, so I usually ask the guest if there are any questions that they may have for, well, me or us as the host. Because I find after like half an hour of asking all the questions, sometimes it's like I have too much control over this conversation. Let me relinquish some. So,
Oh,
yeah.
so questions for you folks? Well, I
Yeah.
mean, first of all, I just want to say I really appreciate you having me on to talk about this topic. It's obviously something I'm really passionate about. But
Yes.
what made you want to have someone come on to talk about cannabis?
Well, honestly, the lifestyle, the way, the amount of people that are involved with it, the amount of time that I've spent with it, I felt like it would be good for, well, myself and some viewers to see like the lesser shown side of it, like the art behind the creation of it. So to hear you talk about it and what goes into it, people realize it's more of a craft. It's not just a bunch of like hooligans sitting down on a street corner trying to, siphon funds out of society. It's an actual art form that you have to take time and dedication and passion to do, but I just didn't know enough about it to speak on it. So I figured I'd find an expert like yourself.
There you go. Very cool.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else to ask. I was not prepared for this. I didn't know that. I would have to
Yeah.
ask some questions. But to your point about the artistry and the craft of it, someone who I don't know if you've ever heard of a man named Frenchie Cannoli, but he is well known for his hashish making. He's traveled all over the world. He's no longer with us, but he I met him at Grow Up, the first one I believe. It was the second one back in 2019, and I met him for the first time, and he came and talked to me because I spoke at a women's panel, and he's like, we need to get more women into this space. He's like, the women are the makers. He's like, yeah, I'm a hash maker, but he's like, there's so many great female growers and women that are making different products, because it's not just about the growing. Like that's the thing, like the bud, like it's like the difference between it's something that basically anybody could understand. It's like the difference between buying apples at the store and then buying applesauce, buying apple cider, going to a restaurant and enjoying like an apple dessert, like a tart or
I was gonna say go to grandma's and get apple pie.
like
Yeah.
you take this one product, right? So we buy the flower, right? That would be just the apple, but it can be but apples can be turned into so many different things, and cannabis has so many, like, because it's an oil based, like cannabinoids are an oil, like they don't mix well with water. So it's just neat, like the hash makers and the guys that are doing like live resins and terp sauce and all of this kind of stuff. Like we're only really, like, a lot of this tech has come from the legacy industry, and it's only going to be developed more so that it can be done more at scale and be able to bring the products to more people. But it's still like the handcrafted hash and hand rolled blunts that are infused with lots of other different infused products. It's like I don't know. The sky's the limit so far.
So-
There's so many new products coming out
Exactly.
every day.
What I've been doing actually recently is going through old family recipes, right? Ripping them apart, looking where the oil bases are, right? Trying to pair up the other flavors with the terpene profiles so that you can't tell there's weed in it. Pair it up with the oils, get it in there, and bake with it instead. The apple pie has been the best so far. Limonene, high limonene terpene content, right in the shortening. Easiest thing. Yeah.
Amazing.
Right in the crust.
Mm.
Yeah.
I had some, what was it? Double stuffed Oreos, but they're not Oreos. They were something else. They were like the double stuffed Oreos, either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
ate like 3/4 of half of one, 3/4 of one. Boy, let me tell you how my day went smooth.
One of my favorite things that I've seen, I went down to Cali for the so it's called the Emerald Cup. So it's down in Santa Rosa, and it's basically like, you know how in the United States they have these like state fairs, and they're just like, a big agricultural fair, and
yeah, we got those around here too.
yeah, exactly. So it's like that, but for wheat. And so, so this is where farmers meet up. They literally they come to sell all their stuff. You can legally purchase there. You can purchase. They have everything from edibles to dabs to vapes to hash to just straight dried flower. But they had there was this one group of women that had infused marshmallows, like all different flavors. Like there was she had these brown buttered sage infused marshmallows. Like I was like, I really want to take these home with me, but I have to travel back to Canada. I would like buy cases of these. Like they're so good.
I can't wait till that stuff opens up around here. We had some ice wine ones from the Niagara, one of the wineries around here the other day. So that bring the weed, bring on the weed ones.
But we haven't seen these kinds of products yet, because right now it's the difficulties of getting into the provincial wholesalers and the expense. Like it's super capital intensive to stay compliant with the regulatory bodies out there, and then to get products into the market. It's really tough. So it's changing and it's getting better, but we'll get there.
Yeah, with time, those processes will get ironed out. That's the only way.
What would you say is a necessary step for us to get there, though? Like, what has to happen for?
We need safe consumption places.
That's what I was going to ask you earlier.
Yeah, we don't have bars for weed yet.
Yeah, we have safe consumption places for alcohol everywhere. I can go into a restaurant and consume an alcoholic beverage, no problem. Why can't I go somewhere and have a beautiful infused meal, and take an Uber home? Like we're all adults. So I think consumption lounges, consumption spaces, topicals is another thing. I want to be able to go to a spa and have a cannabinoid therapy spa experience where I get to take an edible. They're using,
bath bombs, all that stuff.
Yeah, CBD infused massage oils, body lotions, skin treatments.
Cover me with weed. Let me roll around.
Yep.
I want to put it all over my body. Let me do it.
Yeah. Just getting them legal up here.
I think that's I've had massages like where we use cannabis infused topicals, and like it's a way better experience. I feel that much more relaxed. It's great for my skin. It's great for my aches and pains, and it's also great for recovery after you have a massage. So like there's a ways to go. And I think also we're missing out on the economic opportunities of these types of spaces.
Yep.
100%.
Yep. If you could have a shisha bar, you could have a weed den.
Yeah.
That's I've been on the phone with the office of the premier. Asked them, was like, so when are you going to give us somewhere to smoke?
Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect. You're giving people somewhere to poke. So why can't you give us somewhere to smoke? I don't get it.
Yeah.
I'm at the point where I'm just walking down the street with my bong in my hand and then moving to an area where it's allowed to be smoking, packing it, lighting it up, and then just, emptying it out, moving on, just carrying it around with me to try to normalize it, right? Like just, I'm not smoking out of it, right? I'm not doing anything illegal with it anywhere else, but it's coming with me.
Yeah.
So
I
I guess I gotta stop.
I can't wait until the day where I can light up a blunt in public and motherfuckers don't look at me like I'm taking the air out of their lungs.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's like I ain't hurting you, bro. Why are you looking at me so hard? Oh, I can smell it. So turn your nose that way.
Mm. Smell has been a big issue.
That's a
Yeah,
big
Health
issue.
Canada has been not
That is
happy
the
about
biggest
smell.
thing. Oh, yeah.
That is why
Smell.
they don't have it yet. I have on good authority that the main reason they don't have it is because smoke, like when you're drinking, you're the only one drinking. When you're smoking, everyone around you.
Oh my
smoking.
gosh! I think we just hang on.
Vented.
The
They need
smoke
vented
buddies.
patios.
No, you come in. The price of getting in the bar is buying a smoke buddy.
And you get the smoke buddy.
You
and
take
get
the
to
smoke
just-
buddy home after when you're done.
Yeah.
COVID friendly. You only use that smoke buddy. They're like what, $15?
I don't know. You bought it.
I think they're like 15, 20 bucks. If you bought
Yeah.
a pack of them, they'd be cheaper. I was probably getting ripped off by
Buy
that.
them in bulk.
But you know the smoke. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about, right?
I know exactly what you're
filters?
talking about. But I
Or
mean,
the
the
old-
other thing is that we have cannabis beverages now. Like
Oh,
I have,
Oh, those
right?
are great.
Right? I mean, we
You got-
don't
that's
even
not
have
one.
to smoke. I think we
No,
can
no,
still
that's a
smoke
German beer.
outside, like
It just says
to,
that.
have, to be able to have an outdoor space even where you can smoke outside, but you can
Yeah.
consume cannabis inside. I think I've been to events where cannabis beverages have been served, and it's cannabis beverages and like sparkling waters and like pop, and then but no alcohol.
Yeah.
There were no fights. There were no people puking.
Nope.
There were no people like falling all over you. Like I was like,
Yeah, it was a pleasant experience.
like I wasn't having people like non-consensually touch me. Like there were all of these like great things about this event where, I was just like, wow, I feel like really ultra comfortable here in a space where had the consumption been alcohol, I probably would not have felt as comfortable.
So 2019, I think it was 2019, Toronto, Fish came to Toronto. And so we went there with a couple people from the cannabis farm I was at the time. And we get there, and the one girl had her joints all hidden in her smoke pack like you do when you go to a concert. She gets to the security, and at this point it's legal, and they're like, we got to search your bag for stuff. They search your bag. They're like, okay, well, these are legal. I don't know why you're hiding them from us. You have to put them in a little plastic bag, though, and just hold them over your head when you walk through and just announce that you got them. And that's it. You can have them. Who cares? And so the whole show, there was no alcohol being consumed at the show at all.
Yeah.
It was a Fish show with just weed and everybody just smoking as much as they wanted, whenever they wanted.
Nice.
Like nobody was hiding it down or doing anything. It was great. It was just relaxing. It was
amazing. Yeah, super fun. And that was what it was like at the Emerald Cup. Like they had consumption areas that were allowable, which was pretty much not everywhere. There were certain areas that sometimes you just need a break from it too. Like you don't want to be out of smoke constantly, especially if it's an indoor space. But yeah, like it was just great. It was nice to be in such like a normalized setting. Like I'd love to be able to just like, I would love to be somewhere where they have a dab bar,
We had one out here in St. Catharines.
Yeah.
We had one of those out here in St. Catharines. It was crazy.
Lots of people don't know, like newbies that have never experienced cannabis, like these are the places where you would go to learn how to consume properly and also how to consume safely. I think that's another thing that people don't realize. The
LCBO has whiskey tastings and things like that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Exactly.
You can go down to a winery, you can go down to a brewery, you can go get a tour of where these things are made. They're all there, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's just time.
We're gonna have to weaponize this stuff. Hey, you guys are already letting people get drunk and shit. Why can't you let us get hot?
Yeah.
Hold on a second. No, look at this dumbass. Look, he getting in his car and he driving. Yeah. Hold on, he cried. Look at that smart guy. He's walking.
We're getting there. They're looking at data right now, right? So, like, the first year of legalization, the saying I kept hearing was, well, the sky didn't fall, right? Like, okay, they thought there was going to be a big increase in, like, intoxicated driving.
Right.
They thought there was going to be more car accidents.
You know what's happened? Opiate abuse has gone down. People have been, just generally more patient with things. The only thing that's really started happening is people have been more agitated with things that have been.
I drink more water.
Coming against them, I think.
Yeah.
I think
So-
also we've had 2 years of COVID in there, so
I think the people are fed up. I scratch that. People are fed up. And if we don't have, I think like they might have seen this coming, so they're like, okay, let's rush the weed so we can drop that other shit, keep them inside.
It's not gonna work though. It's just gonna make everybody like, why were they lying to us this whole time about the weed? What else are they lying to us about?
Oh man,
Like
listen,
every kid when they first hit out the joint.
I said for years, people were like, "Oh, you shouldn't be smoking weed. It's no good for you." Then my doctor prescribed it for me, and I went back.
Yeah,
to them.
right.
I went back to them. I'm like, David, why are you?
The doctor said so, and you told me to go to the doctor.
Hold up the prescription, just like,
yeah.
There you go. There you go. It is
Yeah.
what it is. It is what it is. So, what is your game plan? I know COVID is like jacking things, but like for like, what's your goal with this? I don't want to call it a project because it's more of a mission.
I mean, our big thing right now, we have a lot of research and development going on with, you know, we're breeding a lot of different cultivars. We are taking some of the things that, you know, Dustin has been growing, you know, for quite a few years, as well as Ron, our breeder, has been growing for quite a few years. And so we are, you know, a lot of this stuff, some of it we've only ever just grown in very, very small spaces, like, you know, maybe a 25 to 50 plant grow. Now we're growing, you know, we have over 175 plants per room. And so we want to start developing cultivars that for taste, flavor, and effect, as well as commercial viability. You know, especially for like small micros like ourselves, you're limited on your space. You're only allowed to have so much space to grow in, which is 200 square meters. So you need to maximize the yields that come out of that space, and it makes it a more sustainable product. So we're breeding for faster flowering times. You know, we want to get the same effects like sativa dominant strains or narrow leaf cultivars tend to be, you know, 10, 12, 14 week flowering cycles. So we've been breeding them to try to shorten that. We just one of our test runs we just did, which is an electric lemonade. We've gotten it down to just under a 6-week cycle. So that means that you could get one more harvest a year if you run that strain, right? So it reduces the amount of electricity you use if you're growing indoor. You might be able to get 2 runs outdoor in a summer, you know? So like, you know, these are the types of things that we are working on. And we also, when we're putting out seeds onto the marketplace, we put out stuff that are easy to grow. Like, you know, a lot, I would say typically the folks that are buying our cannabis seeds at cannabis retail stores are fairly new to growing cannabis. We are starting to see growers that have been growing a long time transition over and try out our cultivars, which is really, really cool. But yeah, like I think really what we're working on is just trying to grow a sustainable business and stay alive, like survive through COVID and survive through like this very heavy regulatory burden that we're under.
Oh yes, that's that is one of the biggest things right now.
Definitely.
Doing the micro growing, from what I'm seeing though, the micro cultivation licenses are the way to go right now, because bringing it up to the scale of the big cultivars, they're just having issues when they scale it up. It's the Irish potato famine problem everybody's having right now. You get it scaled up, you got aphids everywhere. You get it scaled up, you got root rot. You got something. You get something throughout your whole crop, and you lose the whole crop. So doing the micro growing right now and learning how this is actually going to scale up, because we haven't mass farmed it before. Well, we have, but it was not the plants we're dealing with these days that have been cultivated so many different ways. So
the issue is that when you grow smaller, you don't have scales of economy, like or economies of scale, sorry. So right now, the way the market is, we're not commanding the price that craft flower should actually be commanding, because there is so many big operations putting really cheap weed onto the
Mhm.
market. And so it's when you have the provincial distributors that are gatekeeping being able to get a product onto the marketplace, they're saying,
Mhm.
well, this weed is 20% and this weed is 20%, but these guys produced it for 10 cents a gram. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and we're producing it, like our small little producers are producing it for $1.50 a gram just because we don't have the economies of scale.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard for us to compete.
So
So we're
maybe something needs to be looked into because farmers use co-ops and things like that. Maybe the economy of scale could be brought out, but it needs to be done as a like a I don't know, something along those lines. Maybe we need to. A lot of what needs to happen, I think, still, is taking the existing farming techniques that have been, honed in on for years
Yeah.
and years and years. That's and just applying them at this
So
point.
the difference between us and traditional farming is subsidies.
Mm-hmm.
So traditional farming, like dairy, wheat, oats, barley, peas, like all of these like sort of pulses and grains and things like that,
Yeah.
we have been subsidized by the government for
Right.
years to help develop the industry. The
Right.
opposite has happened with cannabis.
Right.
Cannabis
It's been tapped
instead
out.
has been taxed
Mm-hmm.
very, very heavily.
Right.
So we are taxed and we are feed to death. And
Yeah.
so it is very difficult for us to pool together and work together because
It's treated like
we
tobacco.
don't have
Yeah.
any money. Like we're all like just barely surviving.
And then they also did the whole thing where in Ontario anyways, they have 5 retailers within one block of each other. So they did no regulation on like, well, let's make sure that there's the population here to serve these stores. So all these stores have popped up now. Everybody's dumped a bunch of money into these retail locations and they're having to toss product out a year in because, well, the guy down the street has it for $1 less. So everybody went to him.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter that his rent was a little lower when he opened his store, so he could, because everybody buys it for the same price from the province. It's all minus 25% of their price, right? So it's this game right now going on where the government's it's making it really, really hard for anybody to actually design a process around this to actually make it efficient.
Doing what government does.
Yeah, the red tape right now is massive.
And it all happened in California and Colorado as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and they get it done though.
Yeah, all of this stuff happened down there, and it's still going on.
Oh yeah.
What's going on there is the overtaxation is a huge problem in California.
Well, I remember reading when it first went in Colorado there, the first year they had it, they wound up taxing so much on it that everything wound up being paid for in the government and then some. Like they had so much money left over. They're like, everybody's getting a $5,000 check in Colorado, I guess. Sorry, we taxed everybody too much. Like it was that much money they ended up getting. So there's a lot of volume here that is going through. It doesn't need to be this price. It doesn't need to be this tax because the volume is there. But it's just
problem is there aren't enough people speaking on it. It's just, you know what I mean? Like if the problem affects 1 million people and only 100 are talking, the 3 assholes in control aren't going to listen. But if we all say, hey, if we all unite and say, hey, listen, this is what we want, and if you don't give it to us, you don't have a position in government.
I think it took 80% of the popular vote or like polls and stuff before they started actually looking at even legalizing cannabis.
Yeah, you can't. Right? We can't let them. Nah, man. Like
80% of our population in Canada had to be on board with it before they even started going. Okay, maybe we were wrong.
Okay, but so then 80% of the population is going to have to rise up again and say, "Hey, this is what we want."
Yep, that's how that goes.
That's how it goes. We the people control the politicians. We gotta stop acting like it's the other way around. Sorry, I'm on the phone with the office of the premier every week.
Yeah, it is one way to get things
for the last 11 years, 12 years. Every week, not a week. I've missed 2 weeks in 12 years.
Mm-hmm. I think, I mean, if you look at it, I think there are a lot of cannabis advocates that sort of got disenfranchised with legalization because the way it was rolled out, anybody with a prior cannabis conviction could not participate in the
Right. So
new
anybody with experience, you're not allowed in.
Anybody with experience was not allowed in.
Right.
So that was really tough. And I mean,
Hmm.
you know what it's like being an advocate. They're exhausted.
Yep.
Like,
Mhm.
you
Yep.
know, it's a constant struggle. You know, it's like, okay, like we got it legalized. Great. Phew, take a
It's one of the
breather.
reasons why they want to tax so much is so the lobby funds can
Like,
for the advocates, so the advocates can't do it. If you had to pay half the taxes, you'd probably put some of that money into lobbying to pay less taxes.
yeah,
Let's be
well,
honest,
I
right?
mean,
So,
that's what's going on right now. If you check out the website, www.stateofcraft.com,
mhm.
that is a grassroots push from the legal cannabis industry to
Nice.
government, and it is a plea to say, look, when I sell a product, 25% of my top line revenues go to tax and fees. Like, how are people making money when 25% of your gross income goes to the government? Like, it's
Right.
just, we were really fortunate. We were able to get COVID relief funding to just kind of carry us over the hump. And I basically got that check in the bank, and then I immediately turned around and wrote another check to the CRA for pretty
Great.
much the same amount.
Great.
Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a little ridiculous.
it
actually.
was crazy. And so yeah, I keep chirping about it. I speak to Health Canada, I speak to the CRA. I have been in associations working towards these lobbying efforts, and we are going to be seeing some positive changes. I think the big thing is that Health Canada's their big mandate was that it doesn't get in the hands of youth, and that there's nobody. It's basically getting rid of the illicit market.
Yeah, well, they're doing
That
such a
was
great job of that.
their goals, right? And so now the sky didn't fall. Public
Yeah,
safety was
things been pretty good. They haven't. There's been less kids doing it according to the numbers.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, like, yeah, the black market still exists, and I can still go get.
Still better. Sorry, what?
Yeah. Sorry.
I just had a cough.
Oh,
It's not COVID, it's cannabis, I swear.
test came back negative, so.
All I know is, like, we will have to, like, I see so much potential in what's happening. I'm gonna do what I can to use my voice to make sure that these things are addressed effectively, and like let's work towards getting some of these freedoms that other more narcotic drugs have. If I can walk into a bathroom and see a needle deposit dispensary or a deposit thing, I should be able to go to not a bar or something and see like a vent tented out the thing. Just get better ventilation systems in your clubs.
Oh, if they did that, then they would have to admit that the smoking could have been allowed inside this whole time.
Yeah.
On another note.
But we're not trying to be too controversial. Just enough. But yeah, it has been great talking with you. Is there anyone you want to shout out before we close up?
Well, you know what? I have to throw a big shout out to my business partner and master grower, Dustin. Him and I started on this journey together, and we had no idea that we'd come this far. And yeah, like, we're both just super grateful to be working in cannabis legally now. You don't have to look over your shoulder anymore. So yeah, shout out to him. And I shout out to my kids. My kids have been there the whole way. They've literally, they were in my facility when we were first doing construction.
Nice.
So it's been really cool for them to see mom, build this business and grow it, and be really passionate about something. And so it's a legacy that I leave with them. So Yeah.
So would you consider them to be flower children?
Sorry.
Would you consider them to be flower children?
Absolutely.
That's
100%.
awesome. That
They
is awesome.
Yeah, like they know all about cannabis and what it is, and that we call it medicine here. And I really normalize it with them. And obviously they don't take it or use it or anything like that, but we because they're 10 and under.
Yep.
But we do talk about it because
Good.
this is my livelihood. This is what puts food on our table. So why wouldn't we talk about it? It's no different than a dairy farmer coming home and talking about his cows. Like,
There we go.
Mhm.
There we go. So you're more than welcome to come back and have another conversation with us in a
I would love
future
that.
episode. Yeah, and thank you for your time. Appreciate you showing up. And Parkland Flower, ladies and
Mhm.
gentlemen, Parkland Flower. Look them up. Do what you can to, provide any assistance you can in their direction. Buy some stuff from them. Who
Yeah.
knows? You guys
We're
have
going
merch,
to have
right?
some new seeds dropping in Alberta, and we've got 3 seeds dropping in Ontario. So
Seeds,
take a look
right?
for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
seeds.
ask
I'm
for
gonna
them.
get some seeds. I need something for this year.
Yep.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have Northern Lights Autoflower.
Oh, you
Green.
do?
Yeah, Northern Lights
Oh.
Autoflower. We have a Violator Kush. We had to call it V Kush.
Yeah.
Could not use the word violator. So, and then we have Green Tie is our newest release that we're going to be launching.
Green tie.
Green
Okay.
Tie.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I'll have to process the hem or the stem on that one and make a green tie out of it.
There you go.
My mom processes fibers and stuff into
Oh.
on the side. So yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
might buy some green tie seeds and make a green tie out of it. Send it your way. That could be fun.
That's awesome. Well, don't let us keep you. I'm sure you have endeavors
Awesome.
to address. Thank you
Thank
again
you
for
so
your
much.
time. Yes. Bless up, and we'll talk again.
Take care.
All the best.